All right, let's go. Wake up. You know where Quincy is, right? He's taking a nap. So I think it's time for us to tell some Quincy jokes.
Our next speaker is Wofford from Jackson, Mississippi. I met Walter in Denver, Colorado in 2012, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
And we were at a conference and we were in line to the bathroom. And I met Walter and he told me about his cruise that he and Quincy put on. I met Quincy long through Walter. I cannot tell you how much this man has impacted my life, the lives of hundreds of other people, and he is the most honest guy you ever want to meet. If you look up Southern hospitality in the dictionary, you will find a photo of Walter Wofford.
Whoa, that was good. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. All right, so we're recording this, and so JB, thank you for having a great event, the first ever Mastermind Alliance. Woo-hoo! Hot Springs, Arkansas, beautiful day, good food, above average looking people. All right, so as I do with most of my presentations, I like to do them fresh, so this was created 15 minutes ago. And I'm serious about it. I sit down to do it, put it together. It's always something that I'm working on currently because I got, according to my wife, attention deficit disorder, that I can't stay focused. I got that shiny squirrel syndrome thing. And so it's always, I usually pick a topic to teach on it so I'll learn it. And I would recommend that as a good technique for you too. So, right there, come right there. How about right there?
Perfect.
I'll just stand right here. So this is about short-term rentals. Okay, now some of you have no idea what it is, or, well, just like 89% of all Americans don't know that Airbnb exists. They don't. I would say if that's true for the population, 89% don't know in America that Airbnb industry, short-term rental industry exists, then that would mean that 95% of all realtors don't know it. Okay, that's a joke, right, Augie? They don't know that this exists. And so it's a wide open field. The companies like Airbnb and HomeAway have gotten their act together, and there's a whole nother industry of support apps that come along to fill the gaps where Airbnb and HomeAway don't do it yet. And they're called channels, marketing channels, where they'll aggregate the information. When you run in two different companies' calendars, it's easy to overbook something, which it's hard to explain to a family who's coming here on vacation that, oops, your place is taken. And so it's happened to me twice. It's not a good conversation to have with someone. So because you're running two separate companies on one calendar, and it's real easy to do. So the industry is changing by the second. And I ran across a resource for you last weekend at Casey Jackson's event. Somebody was there, the vacationtoolbox.com. Go look at that site, Vacation Toolbox. And this guy has put together all the resources that he can find about that industry, and it's pretty good, including insurance and these marketing channels, these different companies that help you do it, as well as locks that you can buy, all sorts of stuff. So vacationtoolbox.com. You can go look at that. All right, so what is arbitrage? I decided I'd just go look that up. And the definition is the purchase of currencies, securities, commodities in one market for immediate resale in others in order to profit from unequal prices. Another way of saying it is market inequities. What you're doing is you're moving from one market to another. In Mississippi arbitrage, we would say the contracting, not the purchase, the contracting for use and possession of a good house from a house-heavy seller. What does that mean? got an extra house. For immediate short-term rental in order to profit from unequal rental prices. You got it? So I'm not talking about buying. I'm going to show you some examples of ones that I bought. But I think the real play in this arena is the rental arbitrage contracting to buy with right of possession. Yes, sir?
The easiest way to understand arbitrage is Wells Fargo pays 0.2 to a retiree and 4 to get a loan from them. So
right.
The spread is what they're making.
We're working on the spread. And so you can do it. Go ahead, Bob. Say it.
I'm sorry. The best way to explain arbitrage is what banks do. They charge 0.2, or they pay 0.2 to a retired person and charge 4 or more to a lender. They're making the spread on the money. So that's what this arbitrage is making the spread.
Making the spread. Thank you. So another way of saying it, buy it by the barrel and sell it by the shot, right? That's what we do. So since Quincy's not here, he would say, everything will kill you, so choose something fun. Okay, there he is. That's Quincy Long. All right, so for those watching this video long after the fact, and I'm going to send it out to everybody I can send it to, pull out your phone, take a selfie, text it to me. There's the number, along with your email address. Ross did it last week. And what we'll do is you get your name and email. When I get your mug shot, I'll give you access, if you don't already have it, to the Financial Friends Network Podio site that's got all the videos that we have produced on the Financial Friends Network cruises since 2010, and there's 183 of them. And if you come back around late September, there'll be 50 more. And so you'll have access to those, and we're going to give them to you for free. That's your bribe for taking a picture of me. So don't do anything kinky, Ken, right? Don't take it, you stay right there to take your picture, okay? All right, so for those that want to know Financial Friends Network, just go there and sign up for it. Did y'all need the number? There's the number. That's my cell phone. Y'all be sure to wear it out so I can block your number, right? You can. All right. You know, it's funny, I get texts just all the time. People watch the video somewhere down the road and they're texting me pictures. It's kind of fun, actually. So go to the site, Financial Friends Network, at a minimum, sign up for updates, and we'll keep you posted on all the good stuff that we got coming. All right, so here's the tip. If you hadn't seen that, go look at LandGlide, the app, LandGlide. I use it every day. It costs you $10 a month. It will show you the ownership, the county ownership, based on where your phone is, or you can search by address. But it's GPS is your phone in front of this, so you can see who owns it, and it links it to the county records. Very powerful app. Was that emotional response there, Eric?
No, I was trying to get my pen to work.
Good. All right, so the question is, what is the quickest way in real estate to get $10,000 monthly in recurring income? What is it? What's the easiest way? Is it go buy 100 houses and borrow, go to get 100 mortgages to get $10,000 a month? Jay, would you say that's a good way to do it? Probably not. I mean, what's the quickest way to get $10,000 a month in recurring? Now, I'm not talking about flip income, right? The recurring is what we're after. What is it? But well, one thing you could buy discounted performing notes, but that presumes you got some money to buy it with, right? Right? Oops. So I'm making a case for those that if I were starting over today, I would do this and only this. All right, that's gray hair talking. That's pretty profound, because you can do this rental business without borrowing money and using technology to create recurring income. Airbnbs. All right, so I stumbled into this because this is our love shack, right? So we bought this in 2003, and I wanted access to it, but I wanted it to pay for itself. Isn't that what we all want?
Yes.
I mean, you know, when you got a girlfriend, you want access and for her to pay for, so right? That's what I want. Anyway, you know, so this is Airbnb. What does that say over there? Somewhere on there, it's $225 a night for a 6-bedroom house on the water. Is that a deal for a family that's coming in that when you bring your, I mean, is that a deal?
Yeah.
Well, people use Airbnb for a lot of different reasons, but the most important one is they're cheap. They want to stay somewhere cheaper than going to the Hilton because you can sit around that fire pit in the backyard and have a good time there. And if you got a boat, you can bring it up there and put it there, watch TV, all that. So with a room like this, you can have a family reunion or a wedding, not a wedding per se, but a wedding group. We have a lot of funeral people that come. They book it, all of them, the last minute because of a funeral, right? And so where are they going to come? Where are all the people, family members, going to come for a funeral in Jackson? So where would you go if you had to go book? You know, if you had all of a sudden 100 people are coming, where would you go? You'd go to short-term rental, and that's what's changing in our industry, in our world, is how people travel. Bob, we've stayed where? We've stayed in Costa Rica. We've stayed several places in Europe, Fort Worth. Why? Because it's cheaper. It's cheaper. All right, so last year I bought a house intentionally for Airbnb rental. That was a pretty big change for me. I probably would not have bought this house for a straight rental. This was next door to my number 2 son's office in a commercial overlay zone. So a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. We refinished the floor, spent about $8,000 on it. We paid $50,000 for it, and it rents very well. And so we've got a flexible pricing on there, so it's anywhere from around $100 a night to a little more. And you can count on about 20% occupancy. Is that better than the $800 rental that it was before? Yeah. Okay. So then we bought another one about 7 months ago, and it's also in a commercial overlay zone. Important for the governmental heat that may come your way when they change the rules about short-term rentals. I think it's better to be in a commercial overlay zone. That's the reason I bought it. This was built in a residential setting, and then commercial took all around it. So on either side of it, across the street, is commercial. I like that. It's near 3 hospitals. It's near the ball fields. It's schools. It's right next to 2 universities. So you think that the parents of visiting kids in college would want to stay there? That's what I'm thinking. So we paid $110 for it.
How big is it? Is it a 2-2?
It's a 3-2. Actually, it's a 4-2. And we spent about $8,000 on it, maybe a little more than that, and it rents for $125 to $135 a night, which is probably under rented. Yeah. It's. I tell you, just look at it this way. When I've got my 3 up and running houses, when I got them up and running and rented, they make me $450 a day. That's 3. Yes, sir.
I think you answered my question. So that's $135 per night per bedroom?
No, for the house.
That's for the whole house.
The whole house. See, is that a deal?
That's a great deal.
All right, so the market tells me, and you can see this through airdna.com. You can go on there and put your house, and they'll tell you the viability of it. But there are only about 4-bedroom Airbnbs in Jackson. I'm talking about in the city of Jackson. Other areas are more, and that doesn't account for HomeAway because that's a whole nother market. We're just talking about Airbnb. The average price of a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house in Jackson is $225 a night. So can you see it? This rents for $125 to $135. Oh, AirDNA. AirDNA. DNA. So you like our little trendy stuff, our rust-proof, galvanized. We intentionally put that in there, okay? And we put the wooden countertops, tongue and groove, That's not very expensive. That's not very expensive. But it looks different. And so what you want, you got something to say?
Where'd you get those countertops?
That's just 4 to 5 inches wide. You get that in any, you could buy it at Lowe's.
And then you just stained it?
Yeah, well, it's not even stained. It's, we put oil on it. Mm-hmm. All right, so you notice in the back, you see some more galvanized back there, just accent pieces. And so we're using this because it's different. And it's not expensive. We put it on ceilings. We put it, where else do we put it? How about in showers? So we gutted that bathroom and made a bigger shower, and the glass isn't up yet, but there's 2 pieces of glass that are going right there. And we'll do it a little differently next time because that's a pretty expensive way of doing it. River rock, you got to build a bed. And so I'll do something a little different, but the bowls, the same countertop, same stuff. Not expensive. This is not. All right, so you see, it's kind of a wow factor. Wow, look at that. You don't see that every day, and people don't want pristine. They want something different, I think. All right, so this will be my next project. I paid $3,200 for that. I got to figure out where I'm going to put it, though I do have a spot where we can put it. Now, not in our backyard. Okay. All right, so I'm segueing here to tell you of 2 real examples of situations that you should be looking for if you want to do this contracting with the right to sublease. You got it? These are real scenarios. So Michael was our next door neighbor. Great neighbor. And then I'm going to talk about Sarah. So Michael had a vacant, furnished, listed house next door. Sarah has a vacant, unfurnished, unlisted house. Y'all know where you can find something like that? Mm-hmm. All right, so Michael, that's his house right here. He was a great neighbor, and he said to me one day as this is our house right here, by the way, next door. That's our house, the reason I was talking to him, right there. So we had this wave of discontent around our family about our house. We want a better house. Oh, you wanted to say something back there in the back seat? When I said we, so she's kicking me out, go buy that house. So I go over there, and he said, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to Chattanooga. I'm going to move up there with my girlfriend. This was about 2.5 years ago. And I said, yeah, I'll buy your house. So I went over and made him a sincere offer. He didn't mention the price. You got to come up with a number. Well, that house had a fire prior to us moving in the neighborhood, and it was totally renovated. I'm talking about a new house. Everything about it was new. Water heater, Renai, tankless, the whole deal. Nice porch on the back. And so I went over there and said, here's my written offer, $300,000 for the house. He said, I'm not going to sell it for that. I said, well, what'd you have in mind? Well, he said, at least $330,000. I said, okay. Just want to make you an offer. So we're still good neighbors, and nothing really happened. So he was thinking, it was because he wasn't ready to sell at that point. He was going to do it in about a year. Okay? So a year rocked along, and he said, well, I'm going to fix up my house. So he spent about $30,000 on this house, fixing it up, doing things to it. And he said, yeah, and so he came back over and said, Walter, you want to buy the house now? I'm ready to take your offer. I said, the wave of discontentment has crashed and now is nothing but a pleasant stream. No, that was my answer, no. So we didn't want the house anymore. We were happier where we were. And so he said, well, I'm going to list it. I said, fine. So my offer is $300,000. He's already spent $30,000 more. He's also paid another year worth of mortgage payments and utilities. And so he puts it on, and so it actually sold. It took almost 2 years to sell it. He went through 4 real estate agents. Now, this was a furnished house. He had actually moved to Chattanooga. Everything in the house was there. Everything. He was paying for the utilities. So I said to him about a year ago, I said, Michael, what are you going to do if you don't sell it? He said, well, I guess I'll just take it off the market and rent it. Isn't that his choices were I'm going to rent it or I'm going to sell it. And he didn't see any in between. And it's a zero-sum game. You either rent it or you sell it. I said, well, why don't you go look at Airbnb? We've been doing it now for 3 years. He says, I don't know what that is. This is a realtor, contractor, rental owner, had never heard of it. That's what I'm saying. People don't know about it. I said, well, look, I'll help you do this. If you don't sell it, I'll make some kind of deal with you. I'll do all the work. I'll go get the folks to stay there, and I'll supervise it. We'll split the income off of it. He says, oh, I don't know anything about it. So that was the end of the story. Yes, sir.
Are you talking about the co-hosting concept? From Airbnb?
The what?
Co-hosting?
Co-hosting. No, yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So what he's asking about, that Airbnb recently added a nice feature that I could hire Sandy to manage my Airbnb listings. So she'd get copied on everything I get copied on. She also could get paid as a percentage or a flat fee for every booking. They have that now. So you can hire it out. And that's exactly what I would do. Okay. So Michael, he didn't want to take the energy to even hear what I had to say, so he wasn't interested. The pain was not great enough for him to do something else. So four agents later, I think he sold it for $270. I can't tell you how many times a seller comes up to me after the fact, Walter, I wish I had taken your offer. You know, you get enough people telling you that, and you kind of get a little attitude. Augie, have you ever had that happen to you? Yeah. It's the best offer they're going to get when you consider time and vandalism and all those other things that could happen. All right, so that's Michael. So think about it. So this is a furnished, vacant house on the market. Do you think that would be a good Airbnb candidate? Yeah. Why? Because most bookings come within 60 days. So I could have a 60-day calendar. You get to put on the calendar when you're going to book it. So I could have a rolling 60 days and leave it on the market. And now we can market to sell the house and get the income, of which I would get half the revenue. Is that a good business model? All right, so what kind of lease would that be? It's a master lease, but I'm going to make a distinction. It is a performance lease. I'm not going to guarantee anything, because why would I want to guarantee anything when he's going to pull the rug out of me when he sells it? See, we're joining hands for a short period of time because it's good for both of us. It leaves his option open to sell it, and he gets some income. I'm going to take care of everything. He's going to pay for it all, and I'm going to get half the money. Do you think that's a viable business model? Yeah. All right, if you're set up to be in this business, it is. If you're not set up, it's not viable. All right, so, again, that's our mansion right there. Y'all need to come see us. We'll have a screen porch for too long in the back. We're back up to a park. All right, so let's talk about Sarah. Now, Michael didn't take my offer, but it led me down the road to create a performance lease. So this is a short-term performance lease with the right to sublet. You got it? I don't owe anything if I can't generate any money. Got it? Sarah is on another type of owner, and Sarah has a house that it's vacant, but it's still got a bunch of trash in there. Her husband got a job transfer. They bought this house in 2013 and paid about $100 for it. And it's on the same street that my son, number 2 son, has a house, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house that he rents and has rented to the same tenant for $1,400 a month. Jamaica. Okay, you know where that is, Jay? Yeah. All right, so this house, so this is how I found it. You can't read that, but let me tell you. So one of my property locators says, I got you one. And basically what that says is, this may fit your short-term rental play. Go check it out. And so what that says is the mortgage payment, PITI, is $765 a month. Okay? Think about this person's situation. The house needs about $5,000 worth of work. They can't afford the $760 a month now. They're not living there. They moved somewhere else. Now, what are their choices right now in order for them to sell that house? What are they going to have to do? Fix it up. $5,000 negative cash flow. Each month that it sits there, negative cash flow. All right, that's their choice. I mean, that's what's laying in front of them. So I proposed to them, and again, I don't know how this is going to work out because just 30 minutes ago, we're back and forth negotiating still. So it's not whether this particular deal works. It doesn't matter if it works. It's a viable model because now I've got a fixed rate short-term rental lease with the right to sublease. So I'm contrasting a performance lease with a fixed rate. So if I'm going to do a fixed rate and I be the tenant with the right to sublease, then what do I need? What is one thing that I need? I need time. I need time. I don't need time on the performance lease. I need time on this one. I need years to do this. Okay? So we got a copy of, so that just shows that there's the payment, $765, and there's $88 owed on it. So would I buy that house with a new mortgage for $88? No, I wouldn't. Not going to do it. Might I buy it subject to? Maybe. But I would rather leave the title where it is right now with the right to be the tenant with a sublease with all disclaimers about what I'm going to do. Okay? You got the picture? Now, is this better than owning? It is when I show you what I'm going to do with it. All right, so I'm going to come back to this. You can't read it right now, but I'm coming back. I'm contrasting a performance lease against a straight rental, both with the right sublease. And I'm contrasting Michael's situation with Sarah's, and so we'll come back to these categories. But here's the house. So 1,800 square foot. Every piece of advertising advertises that it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. That's all beautiful except there's one thing wrong. It's a 4-bedroom house. Nobody bothered to count that extra bedroom, and it's a big bedroom. Listed with a realtor, the owner says it is, the lender thinks it is, it's a 4-bedroom house. You think that might make a difference somewhere along the way? So it's right in the middle of Northeast Jackson in a good location. Front door, it's got a nice trellised patio in the back. Nice backyard. That's the front door. What do you think? All right, so could I buy the house today? Yeah, but I don't want to buy the house. What did I tell you earlier today? The only reason I want a house, 2 reasons, is to convert it. The only reason I'm going to buy a house is to convert it to a note. I'm not going to ever convert that to a note. That loan balance is too high for what I'm doing. John?
Wouldn't a lease option or a first right of refusal on the purchase of it down the road be really helpful?
It would, and that's the back end. So I'm going to talk about back end opportunities, and since you brought it up, I'll just say it. So with the performance lease, that's Michael. What I would want is a recorded right of first refusal. Now, why would I want that?
So you can't sell it without you being notified.
Well, that's right, but he's going to sell it. Well, here's the situation. Have you ever found a seller that had expectations here and they actually sold here? Now, do you want to be in the line to be able to buy it here? I'll give you a great example. My sister-in-law's mother passed away. As a matter of fact, their house was empty, vacant for 4 years while her mother was in the nursing home. Now, would that have been a good short-term rental possibility? It was furnished. It had every cup and saucer that you'd ever want. It had a washing machine, had freezers, had everything in it except somebody living in the house. So would that be a good long-term and short-term Airbnb? Would it? Yeah. By the way, just so you'll know, that both of these houses should generate $2,500 a month. I'm not talking about $1,100 a month. I'm talking about $2,500 a month. All right, so if I'm going to do the performance, that's Michael, that I'm going to get a right of first refusal because my sister-in-law's listed it with my son at $250 and just accepted a contract for $170. Might I have wanted to buy it at $170? I'd offered to buy it in that price range. At the time, you know, time and expectation, right? Price, time, expectation, right? So the only offer they got was $170. I would have bought that house at $170. I didn't have a chance to buy it at $170. Okay? Unless I had done this with the right, a recorded right of first refusal. Got it? Now, a right of it's not an option. It just says if you find a buyer, I got a shot at matching it. That's all it says. It's not a price. It's a time frame, but it's not a price. So Sarah, on the other hand, the back-end opportunities would be a recorded option to purchase. So what I'm negotiating right now with Sarah is two things. I want a 5-year lease that I'll pay your mortgage payment, whatever it is. If it goes up, fine. If it goes down, fine. I'm going to make your payment for you. Now, does that solve one of their problems? Number two, I'm going to go spend $5,000 to $8,000 on that house. Does that help them or hurt them? Help them. You're an agent, Mo. Will you go spend? Oh, if you had a listing, would you go spend $5,000 on a listed house?
No,
Never. Okay. So for $1,000 option, I've got to write during that 5-year period to buy it for whatever the then existing loan balance is. So what am I capturing? Amortization. And appreciation. So I get all the benefits of ownership without owning it. I get the pay down benefit, and if I sell it during the 5 years for the upside, they don't get that. You see where that option is a very valuable piece of paper?
And you also have an escape clause on that option at some point that if it's not really working the way you want it to, say you've got an escape clause after a year that you can end the whole deal if it's not renting out the way you want it to or
All right,
producing.
so let's talk about that. See, you're reading my slides, John. Thank you for that. So we've got term of agreement and exit. I got one quick. Keith, would you get me some water in there, please? All right, so with Michael, the exit, so I would enter into a 1-year agreement with a 60-day out. Either party can get out. You know, bilateral agreement. All right, so 60-day out. So he's got somebody under contract. Thank you. So you got somebody under contract. If Michael got someone under contract, say, Walter, I need to close in 30 days. I said, that's fine. Just write a check. You know, I would be agreeable. I'm not going to be against him. He can get out of either party can get out with 60 days notice. Well, with a performance lease, I don't have any ongoing expenses, right? None. What about Sarah? I want a 5-year with a 30-day out. I can get out with a 30-day notice. She can't. What am I risking? To fix up money? Right? But I got one more thing that I got to negotiate with Sarah, and that's an extension of another 5 years for another $1,000. Automatic extension of option, automatic extension of the lease if I'm current, and I pay her an additional $1,000 at the end of 5 years. So what?
So you're buying the property today, theoretically, with a 10-year option to purchase at today's dollars.
Better than that, plus amortization.
And appreciate.
Now, do you think somebody would agree with that? I would do that deal on a house that I didn't want. I would take either side of that. Would you, Keith?
Yeah.
So you fixing it up for me? Yeah.
Jay, would you take either side of that? All right, so that's going to be a recorded option. And I'm going to secure it by deed of trust. That we're going to have a memorandum of option, we're going to have an option agreement, and secured by a deed of trust, because what I'm securing is when I want to buy that, they got to be able to deliver title. Anybody ever have an IRS judgment against them? Does that hinder your ability to deliver title? Medical judgments? Moses?
My only question is, for Sarah, what's in it for her? I mean,
She's getting a better house because I'm spending dollars on it. It's possible that I'll buy that house during the 5 years and pay off the mortgage or sell it to somebody. And she's not making any more payments.
And she lives somewhere else.
She's house heavy. She doesn't need that house. Aren't we all house heavy at some point in time?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is she paying ongoing expenses like?
I'm paying everything. Everything.
Who gets the tax? Does she still get to write it off as the owner?
She's a rental owner now.
Okay.
She's a rental owner. All right, so they asked a question over here, Sarah did. Well, am I going to have to pay taxes on that rental income now? I said, you're paying taxes on that mortgage payment right now. Didn't they have to earn money in order to make the mortgage payment? Isn't that paying taxes on it?
After tax money.
Yeah. Do we have another question? Augie's got one.
Now, to protect the property from liens and judgments, are you going to have them put or you put the title into a land trust?
No, I'm not going to do that. And the reason is the question was, am I going to put title in a land trust? Well, you can pick and choose how complex you're going to make it for the seller. These are civilians, right? In our town, I want to preserve the homestead. A deed triggers that homestead change in status, which the taxes are about half. What's going to happen if we put it in a trust that changes the homestead status, then they'd have to go down there and refile and make a statement. I'm still living in the house from Ohio. See?
Yeah, see what else you live in Florida anyway.
They got to be fine. They're living in Mississippi. All right, so let's just look at these up. So who's your avatar? Who you looking for? For performance lease, you're looking for somebody that needs to sell their house, but they need some income today. And it's got to be vacant. They got to be out of it, but it's got to be furnished. You got that? How many houses are there like that? Do you think that you got a list? Now, you can't go after a moat, all the listed houses. Right. But as a non-licensee, I could send every person a letter in my MLS listing. I got no problem doing that.
Saying what?
I'm a corporate leasing entity. If you would like to long-term lease yours, so I can send it, so it could be either one of those scenarios, I could do that, couldn't I? But what I can offer, if it's, see, it doesn't matter what the debt is on the house if they're going to sell it, because it's not my issue. It's only an issue of the debt for Sarah if I might buy it in the future. See, I want everything. I want all the control. I want all the income. I want all the amortization. I want all the upside. That's all. That's it. I don't want the title. I'm over having to own stuff. I just want to control it. I just want the money. Now, in reality, and this was my response just a minute ago when the husband says, hey, you told me what you're going to do with it. You told me you're going to rent for $125 a night and 20 days a month. I think I need to, so he's using the information I gave him about something he had no knowledge of. He says, I need to get $4,000 option money. And so he's negotiating with me on this. And so I sent him another letter, said, I appreciate your thoughts. I understand where you're coming from. No. Now, where is he now?
No.
He's right back where he was before. I'm the guy going to solve his problem. He's got nobody solving his problem right now. And maybe when I open this up, we'll see what he has to say. Like go jump in a lake. And that's okay too. I'm not looking to, this is a concept that you think you could go find 10 people who'll do this in your market? Oh, yes. Moses, Mike.
play for an IRA, a 401k. This is eat money type.
Well, did
Play.
Quincy finally come back in the room?
I think he's in the room.
All right, so Quincy, you want to answer that question, or you want me to answer it and then you correct me?
Why don't you answer it and I correct you?
All right, can you do it in IRA? Yes. Is it a business? Yes. Is it subject to UBIT? Yes.
So I got a question for that.
And all other sorts of problems like me adding personal services and maybe too much excess contribution, all of the above. Did I hit them? Did I get enough?
So to add to it, so we can correct all of us at the same time. So what if I took $1,000 from my daughter's IRA, and this was done, and she's in for an equity participation sort of thing, and she's getting 50% of that back, but I'm handling all the management and everything like that. Would that work or no? Because it's prohibited, right?
Yeah.
It's prohibited. Okay.
All right, let me answer your question. Go ahead, Q. No. Okay. Now, you're on the right track, though, because you could play this game as a lender position. So Mr. Moneybags back there with the no hair could come in and say, Walter, I'll fund your next deal in an equity participation. I'll use my IRA. You can't use your IRA because of the rules here, but I've got a funding partner. So it may be that I come back and say, Quincy, I need $88,000. I think this is a good enough deal to buy it. Now we got another situation. You see that?
Just eliminate you then for himself?
No, he's going to come in as a lender. He's not going to be an active owner of that.
Or even on the other end, if you say you went up to $2,000 or $3,000 in the option money, he could take the option money. You're managing the property. He can still do it that way around too.
All right, so here is the seesaw. Here it is. Money guy wants to get returns from the active investor. That's how it always works. I want to get over in your returns with my money. And the active investor is trying to push back to more market returns, the money-hungry, grubbing lenders, joint venture partners. I mean, that's the problem. So what's market today? What is market today? 1% for a guaranteed loan. Anything above that, you lose guarantee. So half of the profits might be more than 1%, huh? So it's a seesaw. It's where are you in that skill level? I tell you, there have been many, many, many times that I need Quincy and his money, and I still do. So I'm not trying to beat him up. I'm just saying it has a cost to the deal. Quincy's more interested in the short-term money anyway. He wants the velocity of the investing. Did I say anything wrong, Q?
No, that's exactly what I want.
All right, so let me get through this because I got another couple of points to make. All right, so with Michael, he's got the house that's fully ready to go. How much upfront money do I have? None. All right, so with Sarah, I'm going to have $5,000 to $8,000, right? All right, so I'm not going to make any money on this deal for at least the first year. That's why I need time. That's why I need 5 years. All right, so we talked about the term of exit. With Michael, it's a 1 year with a 60-day out. Either party can get out. If you got a buyer of the house, or if he wanted to rent it, if he gave up selling the possibility, if he's got debt up to here and the market is here, he's not going to sell that house without writing a check. He might just soon rent it. But I'm coming in there and saying, you're going to make more money with me as a revenue share doing the work with Airbnb than you renting the house. Now, whether that's true or not has to do with how many days a month I can do it. All right, debt concerns. With Michael's, I don't really have a debt concern too much because he's going to sell it unless he's underwater. With Sarah's, I am concerned because I'm capturing the amortization. Okay? Back-end opportunities, I've already said we'd get a right of first refusal on Michael, who's going to be selling it, and then an option to purchase for an amount equal to the then existing debt at the time.
In this example, what would you create? Sorry.
What instruments would I use?
No, in this example with Michael, what would your right of first refusal be?
At whatever he sells it for.
At whatever. So if he had an offer for 100,000,
Yeah. See, I'm just betting that.
so this
somebody's
is
gonna-
not for you to buy it at market
I'm not
first.
gonna- Well, I mean, I'd like the right to buy. See, I'm going to answer your question, Mo. If I had gotten the right of first refusal on every house that I had ever sold in my career, it would have been the most valuable thing I could have done, bar none. Forget about all the tax moves and IRAs and all that stuff. The right to get back in a deal is more valuable than anything else you can do because you got options. You got. Yeah, I'm not the one beating up on the seller. I'm the one that, well, if they're going to pay you 170, why don't I pay you 175? Would that work for you? And I might have to do that to pay the commission that he's already obligated to pay, right? I'm a good guy. I'm part of the solution, not part of the problem. All right, so capture amortization with the Michael deal? No, I don't capture amortization. With the other one, yes. So let's look at the next page, and then we're almost finished. What about the profit source?
When you
Randy.
say capturing amortization, that means that the debt's being paid down.
Microphone.
So when you say that you're capturing amortization, does that mean that the note is being paid down in your favor?
Well, yeah, it's in my favor.
Yeah.
Who's making the payments?
She is.
I am.
Yeah.
And I
That's
would
true.
send the check I'd send it to them, made out to the lender, because they can't do anything other than send it on. It's a pretty good solution. See, there, Sarah's situation and Michael's is costing money every month. Michael would have been far better taking my offer to purchase, taking my offer to joint venture on a profit revenue share on an Airbnb. Far better. Way better. But they don't know that. And if I can't get somebody's attention, it doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong, I can't get their attention. Right? Now, do you think if Michael went to one of his 4 real estate agents who don't know anything about this, and he said, my neighbor Walter said I should put this on Airbnb rental, what do you think that they would say? What is that? What is he talking about? He's a crook. Right? Why? Because the agent can't make any money at that. They hadn't figured out how to do it. Maybe they ought to figure out how to do it and do it as a brokerage. Is there a business of managing Airbnb rentals for a slice? Sure there is. All right, so with Michael, who pays for profit source. So with Michael, we split the revenue. I got no expense against my side.
Is it over and above the mortgage payment, obviously?
No. No.
Because it's performance.
No, it's not
question was it
it's not a net
over and
number.
above
There's
the
nothing
mortgage payment?
deducted. All we can do is ask the question again.
That's what I was asking, if the split was over and above, if the mortgage is 700, you get 14. Are you splitting above the 700, or are you splitting that
Revenue
whole 14?
split, not revenue and expense split. Well, it doesn't have to be a 50-50. It could be a 30-70. You know, that's all negotiable.
But it's above whatever his
No,
mortgage.
it's a revenue split.
Okay.
All right, now see, do I care what your mortgage payment is really? No, I don't care. I just want the revenue. Now, how much is he paying of it now? And how much revenue is he getting now?
So maybe he has to come 150 out of his pocket while he's sitting there house happy.
Is that better than $1,500?
People do that all the time when the market pops.
Yeah. And you could, I've been trying to sell a house for 8 years now in a market that has decreased for 8 years. Every year, it's worth less. You know, you get those expensive houses. You know what I'm talking about, the expensive houses? Yeah, you got some of those, right?
What is the property management company charging to manage vacation rentals.
Well, anywhere from 25 to 40%.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing the same thing.
All right, so would Michael would it be beneficial to Michael to have somebody cleaning up his house paid for by somebody else twice a week? Would there be a benefit to that? Yeah. Yes. You get to know when it's leaking because the cleaner gets to see it. See, my houses are in a lot better shape than rentals, regular rentals, because somebody eyes are on that property at least twice a week. Yeah, much better. Now, do you have more wear and tear? Yeah, you're going to have to change the carpet out or change, you do have wear and tear. All right, so for profit source, for Sarah, it's the spread between the rental payments. That's wrong. It's the spread between my rental payments, her mortgage payments. It's what I'm paying her, which happens, my rental payments are the mortgage payment. So the spread between the 760 something revenue less utilities, you see? So it's a spread. But I ought to be able to make $1,000 net. I mean, that's a goal. What's the quickest way to get to $10,000 a month in the real estate business with recurring income? Go get you 10 houses that net you $1,000 a month. And you're there. And you can do that in 1 year. You can do that in 1 year, and you can't do that doing anything else that I know of. Is it a business? Yes. Is it passive? No. Well, is a rental business a business? Yes, it's a business. It will eat you alive if you don't pay attention to it. What's the most I could lose on Sarah's deal? $5,000 to $8,000. What's the most I could lose on a house that I can't sell? That I borrowed money against? Yeah, it doesn't stop. All right, so I'm almost finished here. So who receives the 1090? Oh, who pays for the utilities? And Michael's, the owner, does. The rentrepreneur, me, does in the Sarah model. Who receives the 1099? Michael. Could I receive the 1099? Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. I mean, you don't have to prove to Airbnb that you own it, amazingly. They never asked that question. All right, so over in Sarah, who receives 1099? I would, because I would be the one putting on Airbnb. All right, so let's look at relationship. And I'm thinking now about agency relationships. For Michael, it's an owner-tenant relationship, no agency. You got that? For Sarah, it's the owner-tenant relationship, no agency. Is that a good thing? Yes, it's a good thing for both of them. Licensing requirement? No. Anybody want to take the other side of that? Governmental heat. If it comes down, it's real easy for the government to turn on the heat because they can go to Airbnb and see who's got these things and send them certified letters when they're going to change the ordinances. Who gets the heat? The owner. Did you have, Forrest?
Yeah, I want to back up to the 1099. So you say that, on Michael's side, the owner will receive that. So at the end of the year, and let's just say he owes, $3,000 in taxes for the income on that, do you just cut a check for that, or how do you do that?
I'm revenue sharing. I'm not.
You're revenue sharing. Okay.
That's
so
all
it
I'm
comes
doing.
in. Okay.
Now, I want you to get something around your head, guys. Can you do this deal with more expensive houses? Like $1 million house? Yes, you sure can. And what $1 million house people want, they want somebody in that house because the vacant dwelling insurance is 3 times. Right?
Well,
They would do that for this reason alone, not to have to get that insurance.
on the 1099, he's going to get 1099 for the general income. He's going to 1099 you
Yeah.
for what he pays you.
Yeah.
So it's a
He
pass-through.
would if he remembered to do that. All right, so I'm not going to cover marketing channels, but I'm going to leave you, before we go, to Q&A, I'm going to leave you with one thought that I had last weekend at Casey's Jackson's event. We were talking about this, and that's when I get my good thoughts, when I'm listening to what I say, because nobody ever listens to what I say, including me, right? But now this is something you need to go check out with your accountant, because Dr. Doom back there is a fact checker. But if I were going to have a business where I would go out and contract with the Michaels and the Sarahs of the world, I would need an entity to do that in, wouldn't you, typically? And so what kind of entity would you use?
An S corp.
Why would you use an S corp?
Because active income's active income.
All right, active income, S corp. Anybody want to take another side of that? Does an S corp income hit your personal tax return? Yes. Yes, it does. Would you want an entity that didn't hit your personal tax return? So you don't have to own it. You're not getting double taxed. Forget about that. You're not owning the assets. You're owning the income. So it's not double taxation. You could use the performance lease and an LLC tax as a C corp. I think you can do that. As a matter of fact, I filed for one this week.
So an LLC tax is a C?
Yeah, standalone, so it never hits your personal tax return. It's a business. It's a standalone business. Yes, sir.
So this income's not considered like normal rental income, passive? This is active?
Well, think about this. It is active income, and if you want active income, it is active income. Do you want that to hit your personal tax return?
No.
Okay, so I'm just giving you something else to think about. I hadn't finished with all the research. My research department's taking a vacation this weekend here. All right, so let's go with some Q&As, and then we're done. This is the last slide.
All right, I got one more. So this Air DNA, is this a site where you would go and find out the viability, whether you think that would work in the area? Is that what that is?
Yeah, what they do is they scrape the data daily of Airbnb for occupancy, pricing, areas, and what their business model is, they're going to charge you $8 for a report. But it's a good report. I tell you what, it is chocked full of information you can't get anywhere else.
Well, yeah, before you jump into something like that, you spend $8. But,
Yeah.
Like I was always thinking that this really kind of thing wouldn't work unless you were at some lake or around a lake or the beach or things like that. Are you finding it?
All right, so the question, really, your question is, who rents these things?
Yeah, well, where do you want to try to focus on for these things? I mean, obviously not in the middle of nowhere, you know.
All right, so by you asking that question, you're just like everybody else, including me. You think you know who would rent something based upon what your knowledge is, but you don't really know who rents something. You're just making an assumption.
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
not being demeaning at all. But let me tell you what we had last month. We had FEMA firefighters coming for training in Jackson. There were 5 of them that stayed up in the house. You mean people come here for training reasons? Yes. I've got a local franchise that they bring people in every week, and they got to have a place for them to stay, for them to have training. Where would they go? $150 a night over here at the Holiday Inn or whatever, or would you rather put 4 of them up for $150 a night? You see?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we hadn't quite realized that this is for people trying to save money.
Just anecdotally, to Keith's point, one of my students, one of the coaches that works with me, she's got a commercial building with a 2-bedroom apartment upstairs. She's getting $3,000 a month for something that might rent for $500 or $600 on a regular rental basis, and she's getting traveling nurses that come in for 3 and 4 months at a clip.
And I'll tell you what else. So that's traveling nurses. If you just focused on marketing to some niche like that, we're the capital city. We're also the county seat. So we got federal court, we got state court, we got county court, we got city court. And when people come in for a trial And they got the war room where they get attorneys coming in and scheming for a week at a time prior to, where do you think they go? They're going to go rent a conference room for the 10 lawyers to get together, and they're going to rent 10 rooms at the Hilton Garden Inn. And how much is that going to cost them a day? $2,000 a day. Why don't you just come over and stay at one of my Airbnbs, and you can stay there. You see, it's not just what you think it is the point I'm making. Moses.
Our daughter, last year, about last year, she was relocating moved up for a job in Washington, D.C. And it was somebody that was living in the neighborhood in a townhouse that him and his wife were there. They have no kids, but they have an extra room. So she rented out that room for about a month and a half, 3 weeks through Airbnb for $1,600. Yeah, which I'm sure covered his mortgage payment and plus, right?
They had another room on the third floor of the house that an FBI agent rents out because he doesn't live in D.C., but he stays there during the week and then goes home on the weekends.
So, I mean, they're living there and she was too.
You mentioned that you're the capital city. How many weeks of the year is your state legislature in session?
It's not, but about 4 or 5 months.
Okay, yeah, I know it's 5 or 6 months in Missouri. I didn't know if they'd be a candidate for, at least part of the year to rent something.
But they get paid a per diem.
Yeah.
For staying at a hotel, and I guarantee it's not enough to pay for a hotel. They don't make much money. All right, so who comes and stays? We don't. It's bigger than what we think. If I did nothing but market to the society pages where they have weddings listed months and months in advance, I could book every one of mine every wedding weekend if I wanted to be in that market. You don't know, we've had people who wanted to come to our lake house to shoot a commercial. And they said, do you mind if we use your bedroom with some camera equipment? I said, now what kind of commercial is this? So where would they go to shoot? Do you think we got filmed? You think we got films in Mississippi? Do you think Oprah comes and Morgan Freeman and all that? Where do they stay? They're going to stay someplace nicer than mine, but that's they rent short-term rentals, and we got films all the time in Mississippi. You got tournaments, you got festivals, you got comic book festivals, you got monthly festivals, you got neighborhood, all that stuff. If you just start marketing to what the events are in town, and all of a sudden you're off the grid in terms of your marketing, not Airbnb's marketing. You see the difference? So at that point, you want to get your own website and book and cut Airbnb out and HomeAway out. See, repeat business, you already know them. They know the house. They pay fees and I pay fees for Airbnb. But I got lots of repeat customers that come to the shack, lots of them. So, what do you think? Is it somewhat entertaining? Yes. All right, so here's the commercial. The business to short-term rental site is almost complete. The video's not done. But we've already done one of these in Waco, and we're going back for a 2.5-day event, Halloween weekend. And so this presentation is a warm-up session. And you ought to go look on there. We've already picked the topics, the business of shorttermrentals.com. So Pam Whitworth, who's got 8 in Waco, we've booked all of hers, and we're going to stay in all of her rentals. And then we're going to have 2.5 days of talking about this and way, way more, going over contracts, going over these agreements, these performance leases with right to sublease, with the right of first refusal. That'll be a part of it. We'll talk more about the taxation. We'll talk more about the home guides. How do you communicate with your people? How can you market for it? And how do you run this business? So this is kind of like a business opportunity. If you're interested in this, we got Pam, who's got 6 or 7 or 8 of them, and Mary Hart's going to come, and she's been doing this for 11 years. She's got a lot of experience. And then I've been doing it for 4 years, and we're putting on an event. and you can come to it, and we're going to stay in the Airbnb just like we're doing this here. And we're going to talk nothing but about this for 2.5 days. Yes?
I'll bring the plans for my container house.
Yeah, container house, tiny house. All right, thank you.